Security! We have a fraud situation here! Victoria Sterling's voice cuts through Gate 12A like a blade. Her manicured finger stabs into 16-year-old Amara Thompson's chest, each jab punctuating her words. This seat isn't for people like you. Amara clutches her first-class boarding pass. Victoria rips it from her hands, examines it like evidence of a crime. Passengers stop. Phones rise. The terminal holds its breath. I don't care what this paper says. Victoria's theatrical disgust plays to her audience. You don't belong in first class. She tears the boarding pass in half. The pieces fall. Amara bends to collect them, her hands shaking. Victoria's heel steps on one fragment, grinding it into the carpet. Nice try, sweetheart. But I've seen this scam before. Humiliation burns Amara's face as 300 strangers watch her degradation unfold. Amara's phone screen lights up with a contact Victoria will never forget. 4 hours earlier, Amara arrives at the international terminal alone. Her worn backpack and simple hoodie draw dismissive glances from luxury travelers streaming toward first-class check-in. The ticket agent barely looks up when Amara approaches. Economy check-in is at the other end, honey. Amara slides her confirmation across the counter. First class to London, please. The agent's eyebrows shoot up. She studies the document like it might bite her. Types slowly, frowns at her screen. This is unusual. Are you traveling with family? Just me. And you're how old? 16. The agent's skepticism thickens the air. She prints the boarding pass with visible reluctance, as if expecting it to burst into flames. Gate 12A. Boarding in 2 hours. At the airport cafe, Amara overhears 2 flight attendants gossiping over lattes. Victoria's working the London route today, says the blonde. She has 0 patience for suspicious upgrades. Her brunette companion laughs. Remember that basketball player last month? She made him prove he could afford first class before letting him board. Victoria maintains standards. That's why passengers respect her. Amara texts her father. Beginning the test. We'll report everything. His response arrives instantly. Remember, you're anonymous today. Experience our service like any other customer. 3 terminals away, Victoria Sterling reviews her passenger manifest in the crew lounge. 23 years with Sterling Aviation has taught her to spot trouble before it boards. She circles several names with her red pen. Frequent flyers get green check marks. First-time passengers get question marks. But when she spots Amara Thompson, age 16, first class, traveling alone, her pen hovers. The passenger photo shows a young black girl in casual clothes. Probably some computer glitch, Victoria mutters to her colleague. Or worse, credit card fraud. These kids think they're clever. She makes a note beside Amara's name. Verify payment method. Check ID thoroughly. Victoria has built her reputation on catching irregularities others miss. Gate agents defer to her judgment. Supervisors trust her instincts. Passengers appreciate her diligence in maintaining cabin standards. Today, those instincts will destroy everything she's built. She clips the manifest to her clipboard, satisfied she's identified potential problems before they escalate. Victoria Sterling has no idea she's about to humiliate her boss's daughter. Boarding begins at Gate 12A. Amara joins the first-class line, boarding pass ready. Her calm demeanor masks the nervous energy coursing through her veins. Victoria appears at the gate podium like a hawk spotting prey. Her eyes lock onto Amara immediately. She whispers something urgent to the gate agent, who nods with sudden concern. Excuse me, miss. Victoria's voice carries authority that makes nearby passengers pause their conversations. She approaches Amara with the measured steps of someone accustomed to command. I need to verify your boarding documents. The request sounds routine, but Victoria's tone suggests she's already found Amara guilty of something. First-class passengers crane their necks to watch the drama unfold. Of course. Amara extends her boarding pass and ID with steady hands. Victoria examines everything with exaggerated thoroughness. She holds the documents up to the light, checking for forgeries that don't exist. Her performance draws approving nods from watching passengers. This seems irregular. Victoria's voice projects across the gate area. How exactly did you acquire a first-class ticket? My father purchased it. And what does your father do? The question hangs in the air like an accusation. Victoria's smile never reaches her eyes as she waits for an answer that will justify her suspicions. He works in aviation. Victoria exchanges meaningful glances with nearby passengers. A businessman behind Amara mutters loud enough for others to hear. Good catch, Victoria. These upgrade scams are getting sophisticated. I'm going to need additional verification. Victoria signals the gate agent with barely concealed triumph. Pull up the purchase history for this ticket. The computer screen shows legitimate purchase details. Corporate credit card. Expedited processing. Everything validates Amara's story perfectly. System shows valid purchase, the gate agent whispers, confusion creeping into her voice. Victoria's jaw tightens. Being wrong isn't acceptable with this audience watching her every move. Her reputation depends on being right about these situations. Computer systems can be compromised, she announces loudly. I'm exercising my authority as senior cabin crew to conduct additional screening. The businessman nods approvingly. Better safe than sorry with these kids today. Victoria feeds off the support, her confidence swelling with each approving murmur from the crowd. Step aside, please. We need to resolve this properly. Victoria decides to transform suspicion into spectacle. Step over here, please. Victoria's command echoes across the gate area. She wants maximum visibility for what comes next. Amara moves to the designated screening zone, confusion growing. Is there a specific problem with my documentation? The problem is your story doesn't add up. Victoria circles Amara like a predator stalking wounded prey. First-class tickets cost thousands of dollars. You're wearing Target clothes and carrying a backpack that's seen better days. Passengers gather closer, forming a human amphitheater around the unfolding drama. Phones emerge from pockets, recording angles captured for social media consumption. Ma'am, I have every right to be here. Rights? Victoria's laugh carries cruel amusement. Let me explain your rights. I have absolute authority over who boards this aircraft. If I determine you're unsuitable for first-class service, you don't fly first class. Period. She signals airport security with theatrical urgency. Two officers approach reluctantly. They see a polite teenager, not a criminal threat. I want this boarding pass verified by fraud prevention immediately. Victoria snatches the document from Amara's hands. Check for counterfeiting, stolen credit cards, anything suspicious. The security officers exchange uncomfortable glances. Ma'am, our system's already validated. I don't care what your systems show. Victoria's voice rises to performance levels. Look at her. Does she look like she belongs in first class? Gasps ripple through the crowd. Several passengers begin backing away, sensing they're witnessing something terrible. But others lean forward, validating Victoria's prejudice with eager nods. Her father supposedly works in aviation, probably custodial staff trying to scam a free upgrade using stolen passenger information. Amara feels tears threatening but refuses to surrender to them. Her father taught her that tears give bullies exactly what they want most. I'd like to speak with your supervisor. I am the supervisor here. Victoria steps closer, invading Amara's personal space with deliberate intimidation. And I'm telling you to take your little fraud scheme somewhere else. My aircraft maintains certain standards. The businessman from earlier speaks up. Just put her in economy, Victoria. Let's keep this moving. Victoria basks in the public support, her cruelty expanding with audience approval. No, She attempted to defraud this airline. Security needs to investigate fully before she tries this again. One security officer attempts de-escalation. Miss, maybe we could contact your father to verify. Her father, Victoria interrupts with theatrical disbelief. The mysterious aviation worker who supposedly bought his teenage daughter a $5,000 ticket? Right. She blocks Amara's attempt to use her phone. No coaching from accomplices. Security, I want her detained until we verify she didn't steal credit card information to purchase this ticket. Victoria's finger jabs into Amara's chest again. You picked the wrong flight attendant to mess with, sweetheart. The crowd watches in stunned fascination as authority crushes innocence in real time. Amara's eyes narrow as she remembers exactly who taught her never to back down. Amara studies Victoria's face with surgical precision, memorizing every detail. Her father's voice echoes in her mind. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Then decide what you're going to do about it. Ma'am, I'm going to board this flight. Amara's voice drops to barely above a whisper, but something in her tone makes Victoria's confident smile falter. In first class, as ticketed. As like hell you are. Victoria signals the gate agent to begin boarding other passengers around them. Security, escort her out of my gate area. The officers hesitate. Something feels fundamentally wrong about this situation. The teenager shows no signs of deception, just quiet determination that makes them uncomfortable with Victoria's escalating demands. I need to use the restroom first. Amara's request sounds perfectly reasonable. Fine. 2 minutes, then you're gone. Victoria turns to accept congratulations from approving passengers, basking in her perceived victory. In the restroom, Amara dials her father's private line. It goes directly to voicemail. He's trapped in back-to-back board meetings. She tries his assistant instead. Sterling Aviation, Mr. Thompson's office. Linda, it's Amara. I need you to pull the employee file for Victoria Sterling, senior flight attendant. Also connect me to passenger services immediately. Honey, what's wrong? You sound upset. I'm fine. But Victoria Sterling just made the biggest mistake of her career. Amara's voice carries steel that Linda recognizes from boardroom confrontations. Patch me through to passenger services. Authorization code Delta 7 Alpha. Linda knows that executive override code. Connecting now. Passenger services, this is Michael speaking. Michael, this is Amara Thompson. I need Victoria Sterling's complete service record, disciplinary history, and current flight assignment pulled immediately. Silence stretches across the connection. Miss Thompson? But you're supposed to be... I'm calling from Gate 12A, where your employee just denied me boarding and accused me of credit card fraud. In front of 300 witnesses, while multiple recording devices captured every second. The implications hit Michael like a freight train. Jesus Christ, what do you need? Full documentation, every complaint against her, every incident report filed. I want her direct supervisor contacted immediately. Amara's executive training takes control. And Michael? Make sure Passenger Relations understands this is now a federal discrimination case. Consider it done. Should we alert your father? Not yet. Let me handle Victoria Sterling my way first. Amara returns to the gate area where Victoria holds court, regaling passengers with stories of fraudulent passengers she's heroically caught over the years. The woman has no idea she's describing the airline owner's daughter to the airline owner's customers. Amara's phone buzzes with incoming files. Victoria Sterling's record tells a damning story. 14 disciplinary actions, 6 formal complaints, 3 federal discrimination warnings. Never terminated because she's protected by the wrong middle manager. That protection ends in approximately 8 minutes. Victoria notices Amara's return and smirks with predatory satisfaction. Security, I thought I told you to escort her out. Actually, ma'am, we'd like to speak with you privately. The senior officer's tone has shifted. He received a call from passenger services during Amara's absence. His instructions were crystal clear. Document everything. I'm busy boarding passengers. Handle this fraud case and let me do my job. Amara approaches the gate podium with newfound calm. I'd like to file a formal complaint. Against whom? Victoria laughs with genuine amusement. Yourself for attempted fraud? Against you. For discrimination, assault, and violation of federal transportation regulations. Victoria's confidence wavers slightly. The teenager speaks with legal precision that suggests uncomfortable familiarity with airline policies and procedures. You made physical contact without consent, seized my property illegally, and denied service based on racial profiling. Amara's voice carries clearly across the gate area. Every word has been recorded by multiple witnesses. Passengers begin murmuring nervously. Some review their phone videos, suddenly realizing they've captured something potentially explosive for social media. I followed proper security protocols. You followed personal prejudice. Amara cuts through Victoria's defense like a scalpel. Tell me, Ms. Sterling, what specific indicators of fraud did you observe? What training manual authorizes you to determine passenger suitability based on clothing choices? Victoria stammers, thrown off balance. She expected tears and submission, not cross-examination from someone who sounds like she's testified before. I have 23 years of experience with this airline. 23 years of documented discrimination. Amara holds up her phone, displaying Victoria's disciplinary record for everyone to see, including 3 previous racial profiling incidents that somehow didn't result in termination. The crowd falls silent. Victoria's face drains of color as she stares at confidential personnel information appearing on a teenager's phone. How do you have access to employee files? The real question is why you're still employed despite repeatedly violating federal civil rights law. Amara steps closer, her voice dropping to boardroom intensity. But don't worry, Miss Sterling. That situation is being addressed as we speak. Victoria's supervisor, James Mitchell, appears at the gate, summoned by an emergency call from corporate headquarters. His grim expression suggests this conversation will not end well for Victoria. But Victoria still has no idea how catastrophically wrong she's been about everything. Victoria, we need to talk. Now. Supervisor James Mitchell's voice carries urgency that silences nearby conversations. He received a code-red call from corporate something about an executive-level passenger incident. James, perfect timing. This girl is trying to board with fraudulent documents .. Stop talking. Mitchell's sharp command cuts through Victoria's explanation like a blade. Ms. Thompson, I sincerely apologize for this incident. Let me personally ensure you're properly accommodated. Victoria's confusion deepens into something approaching panic. Why is Mitchell treating this teenager with executive-level deference? I appreciate that, Mr. Mitchell. But I think we need to address the systemic issues that allowed this incident to occur. Amara speaks with boardroom authority that makes Mitchell visibly nervous. Absolutely. Whatever you need. I need Miss Sterling to explain her actions to these witnesses. Amara gestures toward the crowd. They deserve to understand what they just participated in. Victoria realizes she's lost complete control of the situation. James, what's going on? Why are you... Because I just got off the phone with corporate headquarters. Mitchell's voice drops to a whisper, but passengers strain to hear every word. Do you understand what you've done? I protected airline security from obvious fraud. You attacked the wrong person, Victoria. The absolutely wrong person. Amara's phone rings. She glances at the screen displaying Dad and declines the call, earning shocked looks from Mitchell, who recognizes the implications immediately. Ms. Sterling, you have 30 seconds to apologize to these passengers for the discrimination they witnessed. Amara's calm delivery makes the ultimatum more terrifying than shouting would. I don't apologize for doing my job properly. Your job ended 10 minutes ago. Mitchell produces his tablet with trembling hands. Victoria Sterling, you're suspended pending federal investigation. Security will escort you off company property immediately. Victoria stares in disbelief as 23 years of authority crumble around her. You can't suspend me over this little... Watch your next words very carefully. Mitchell's warning carries genuine fear. The crowd buzzes with speculation and phone cameras. Who is this teenager who can end careers with a single phone call? Victoria's about to discover that aviation worker was the understatement of the century. Victoria's phone explodes with notifications. Text messages flood her screen. What did you do? Corporate is going insane. You're trending on Twitter. She checks social media to find videos of the incident already viral. Number airline discrimination climbs trending lists with terrifying speed. The comments are brutal and personal. This has to be a misunderstanding. Victoria's voice cracks as 23 years of confidence disintegrates. James, you know me. I've worked here since... I thought I knew you. Mitchell reviews something on his tablet that makes him pale further. Victoria, do you know who Amara Thompson is? Some kid trying to scam her way into first class with stolen credit cards. She's the CEO's daughter. The words hit Victoria like physical blows. The gate area falls completely silent except for the sound of phones recording her destruction in real time. That's impossible. Thompson doesn't have any... Victoria stops, remembering whispered rumors about the CEO's fierce protection of his family's privacy. His 16-year-old daughter, who you just accused of fraud, physically intimidated and publicly humiliated. Mitchell's voice carries to the back of the gate area. In front of cameras. On social media. Creating a federal discrimination case that's already trending nationally. Victoria's legs wobble. She grabs the podium for support as her world tilts sideways. I didn't know she was... You didn't know because you saw a black teenager and assumed criminality. Amara's quiet words slice through Victoria's desperate protests. Just like you did to the basketball player last month. Just like your documented pattern spanning 14 disciplinary actions. The businessman who supported Victoria earlier backs away, frantically deleting his phone video. The board is convening an emergency session, Mitchell continues relentlessly. Legal is preparing federal defense statements. PR is in full crisis mode, all because you couldn't see past your prejudices. Victoria's phone rings with a call from corporate security. Her hands shake too violently to answer. Ms. Sterling, you have one opportunity to salvage anything from this disaster. Amara checks her watch with executive precision. Publicly apologize to every person who witnessed your behavior. Then quietly resign with whatever dignity remains. I won't resign over this. Then you'll be terminated. With cause. No severance, no references, no pension. Victoria's about to learn that humiliating the boss's daughter carries consequences beyond imagination. Amara's phone buzzes with a text from her father. Boarding now. Gate 12A in 5 minutes. Victoria notices the message and her confusion deepens into terror. Who's boarding at... The gate area suddenly transforms. Airport security creates a protective corridor. VIP services appears with escort vehicles. Mitchell straightens his uniform and checks his watch nervously. Ms. Thompson, your father insisted on handling this personally. Mitchell's voice carries barely controlled panic. He'll be here momentarily. My father? Amara smiles for the first time since this nightmare began. That should be interesting. Victoria finally begins connecting the pieces. The deference, the emergency calls, the corporate panic, but the full scope still eludes her completely. James, who exactly is Thompson? Victoria's whisper barely carries past her own lips. Before Mitchell can answer, the corridor clears. Robert Thompson strides through the gate area with the commanding presence that built Sterling Aviation from a regional carrier into an international powerhouse. 6'2", impeccably dressed, radiating the quiet authority that transforms boardrooms and reshapes industries. the man whose face graces magazine covers and business documentaries worldwide. The crowd recognizes him instantly. Gasps ripple through the terminal as passengers realize they've witnessed the systematic destruction of an employee by the company's owner. Daddy. Amara's single word carries across the silent terminal like a thunderclap. Victoria's world collapses completely. Every assumption, every justification, every moment of arrogant authority crashes down simultaneously. The teenager she humiliated is the daughter of the most powerful man in aviation. Robert Thompson surveys the scene with the measured calm that precedes corporate earthquakes. His expression remains neutral, but employees recognize the dangerous stillness before devastating storms. "Mr. Thompson, sir, I can explain," Mitchell begins desperately. "No need, James. I reviewed the security footage during my drive over." Thompson's voice carries the authority of billion-dollar decisions and boardroom conquests. "Ms. Sterling, I presume?" Victoria can't speak, can barely breathe as the full magnitude crashes over her. 23 years with my company, 14 disciplinary actions, 6 discrimination complaints, 3 federal warnings. Thompson recites her record from memory like reading quarterly reports. "And today you physically assaulted my daughter while accusing her of fraud." "Sir, I didn't know she was—" "You didn't know because you saw a young black woman and assumed criminality." Thompson's words hit like precision strikes. "The same racist assumptions you've made repeatedly throughout your career with my company." He turns to address the mesmerized crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've witnessed something that violates every principle Sterling Aviation represents. I built this company on the belief that every passenger deserves dignity and respect." Phones record his every word. This moment will be replayed millions of times across every platform. Ms. Sterling's behavior today represents the exact opposite of our values. She profiled my daughter based on race. She physically intimidated a minor. She denied service based on personal prejudice. Thompson's voice builds with methodical precision. "This ends now." Victoria finds her voice. "Mr. Thompson, please, I made a mistake." "You made a choice." Repeatedly. "For 23 years, you chose prejudice over policy. You chose assumptions over evidence. You chose humiliation over humanity." He produces his phone with deliberate ceremony. "I'm calling our legal department now. Federal discrimination charges will be filed within the hour. Criminal assault charges for touching my daughter. Civil rights violations for denying service based on race." Victoria's knees buckle as her future disintegrates in real time. "Sir, please, I have children, a mortgage." "The time for please was before you laid hands on my child." Thompson's executive calm never wavers, making his words more devastating than rage would. "Before you tore up her boarding pass. Before you called security to arrest her for the crime of being black in first class." He turns to Mitchell with surgical precision. "James, Ms. Sterling's termination is effective immediately. Security will escort her from company property. Her badge, access cards, and all company property are to be collected now." The crowd watches in stunned silence as one of the most powerful executives in America destroys a career in real time, transforming discrimination into a teachable moment about consequences. Victoria realizes this is only the beginning of her destruction. "Legal is standing by for your statement, Ms. Sterling." Thompson gestures to 2 attorneys who materialize during his arrival. "But first, let's address the broader implications of your actions." Victoria stares at the lawyers in growing horror. "Statement?" "Federal law requires detailed documentation for discrimination cases. Your behavior today violated the Civil Rights Act, federal aviation regulations, and company policy." Attorney Sarah Chen opens her tablet with professional efficiency. "Each violation carries specific penalties." Thompson continues his systematic dismantling with boardroom precision. "James, I want every passenger who witnessed this incident compensated. Full refunds, first-class upgrades on future flights, and formal apologies from corporate leadership. Absolutely, sir. I also want a complete audit of Miss Sterling's service record. Every passenger interaction over the past 5 years. Any evidence of discriminatory behavior gets reported to federal authorities immediately. Victoria realizes the scope expanding exponentially beyond her worst nightmares. Mr. Thompson, surely we can resolve this internally through HR. Internal resolution. Thompson's laugh contains no humor whatsoever. You assaulted my daughter in front of 300 witnesses while cameras recorded everything. This stopped being internal the moment you decided to make a public spectacle of your racism. His phone buzzes constantly. Board members, media outlets, government officials responding to the viral videos spreading across every platform. Sterling Aviation's stock price fluctuates with each news update. Ms. Chen, what are the federal penalties for airline employee discrimination? Criminal charges carry up to 10 years imprisonment. Civil penalties reach $150,000 per violation. The victim can seek additional damages for emotional distress, punitive measures, and legal costs. Victoria's face goes ashen as numbers that could destroy her life entirely pile up like an avalanche. I can't afford those kinds of... You should have considered financial consequences before committing federal crimes. Thompson shows no sympathy for the woman who terrorized his child, but the personal consequences pale compared to what you've done to this company. He addresses the crowd again with executive authority. Sterling Aviation will cooperate fully with federal investigators. We'll implement new training protocols, oversight systems, and accountability measures. This incident will drive positive change industry-wide. Passengers begin applauding spontaneously. They're witnessing corporate accountability in real time, something rarely seen in modern business. Mr. Thompson, a passenger calls out, how do we know this isn't just PR damage control? Thompson nods appreciatively at the challenging question. Fair point. Here's what happens next. Within 30 days, we'll publish a comprehensive discrimination prevention plan. Every employee undergoes mandatory bias training with real consequences for failure. Customer service representatives receive authority to override any decision that appears discriminatory. He continues building momentum with practiced skill. We're establishing a passenger advocacy board with genuine power to investigate complaints independently. Every discrimination allegation gets external review by civil rights experts. Employees found guilty of bias face immediate termination and federal prosecution. Victoria watches her former colleagues film Thompson's promises, realizing the company is using her destruction as catalyst for industry transformation. Additionally, Sterling Aviation will fund a scholarship program for underrepresented students pursuing aviation careers. Because the best response to discrimination is creating opportunity for everyone. The crowd erupts in genuine applause. Thompson masterfully transformed a discrimination crisis into a moment of corporate leadership that will be studied in business schools. Attorney Chen approaches Victoria with legal documents. Ms. Sterling, you have the right to legal representation during federal questioning. I strongly advise... I want to explain my side of what happened. There is no your side to federal discrimination. Chen's interruption cuts sharp. There are facts, witness statements, video evidence, and legal consequences. Your explanations won't change any of those realities. Thompson checks his watch with executive precision. The FBI Civil Rights Division is sending agents to interview witnesses. This gate area is now officially a crime scene pending federal investigation. Victoria's horror deepens exponentially. FBI involvement transforms this from employment dispute to federal criminal case with life-altering implications. Sir, I have children, a mortgage, responsibilities. So did every passenger you've discriminated against over 23 years. Thompson's response carries no warmth whatsoever. Their financial situations didn't prevent you from treating them with systematic contempt. Media crews arrive, having tracked the viral videos to their explosive source. Thompson sees opportunity in the mounting chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, Sterling Aviation has always believed that our response to crisis defines our true character. Today, we choose accountability over excuse-making. We choose systemic change over minimal compliance. Reporters shout questions, but Thompson maintains absolute control. Ms. Sterling will face full legal consequences for her criminal actions. Our company will implement the most comprehensive anti-discrimination program in aviation history, and my daughter will board this flight in first class, as ticketed, with the dignity every passenger deserves. Victoria realizes she's become the poster child for everything wrong with corporate culture. Her termination will be referenced in business schools, legal textbooks, and sensitivity training programs for decades. Mr. Thompson, what message does this send to employees? A reporter calls out. Simple. Discrimination has consequences. Real consequences. Career-ending, life-altering consequences. Thompson's answer rings across the terminal like a corporate manifesto. Bias isn't just morally wrong, it's legally actionable and professionally fatal. Victoria's phone explodes with messages from family, friends, former colleagues. The videos have reached millions. Her face is now synonymous with airline discrimination worldwide. Security, please escort Miss Sterling from the premises immediately. Her employment is terminated effective now. All benefits, pension contributions, and severance are forfeited due to cause termination. But Victoria's legal nightmare is just beginning. 3 weeks later, Victoria sits in federal courthouse facing Judge Patricia Williams. The civil rights hearing draws national media attention, with Sterling Aviation's transformation serving as stark counterpoint to Victoria's complete downfall. Ms. Sterling, you stand accused of violating federal civil rights law, assault, and discrimination under color of authority. Judge Williams reviews the extensive evidence with judicial gravity. How do you plead? Victoria's overworked public defender whispers urgently, but she's beyond rational decision-making. Not guilty. I was performing my job duties. Your job duties included physical intimidation of minors? Judge Williams's question silences the packed courtroom instantly. Prosecutor David Martinez presents evidence with methodical precision. Your Honor, the defendant's actions were recorded by multiple witnesses. Video evidence shows clear discrimination based on race, physical contact without consent, and abuse of corporate authority. The prosecution plays gate area footage on courtroom screens. Victoria watches her own destruction in high definition, seeing her behavior from outside perspective for the first time. The cruelty is undeniable and stomach-turning. Furthermore, employment records show a documented pattern of discriminatory behavior spanning decades. 14 incidents, 6 formal complaints, 3 federal warnings, all ignored by defendant and previous management. Judge Williams examines Victoria's personnel file with growing concern. Ms. Sterling, your record indicates repeated bias incidents over many years. What training did you receive to address these documented issues? The company provided some workshops, but did you attend these mandatory workshops? Victoria's silence provides a damning answer that echoes through the courtroom. Robert Thompson takes the witness stand, his testimony measured and devastating. Your Honor, my daughter experienced trauma that no child should endure in a public setting. But more importantly, Ms. Sterling's actions represent systemic problems we're now addressing industry-wide. He details Sterling Aviation's comprehensive response. Complete policy overhaul, mandatory bias training with real consequences, independent oversight board, and zero-tolerance enforcement. We've terminated 12 additional employees found guilty of discriminatory behavior. Judge Williams nods approvingly. Mr. Thompson, your company's response demonstrates corporate responsibility rarely seen in discrimination cases. Victoria's defender attempts desperate damage control. Your Honor, my client's career is completely destroyed. She's unemployable in aviation, faces financial ruin, and endures social ostracism. Hasn't she suffered proportional consequences? Has she? Judge Williams addresses Victoria directly with piercing intensity. Do you understand the impact of your actions on Miss Thompson? Yes, Your Honor. Do you understand the broader impact on every passenger who witnessed your behavior? Every person who saw those videos and recognized their own experiences with institutional discrimination? Victoria nods weakly, finally grasping the scope. Do you understand that your actions reinforced harmful stereotypes and made air travel demonstrably less safe for people of color nationwide? Yes, Your Honor. Judge Williams delivers her verdict with judicial authority. This case represents more than individual misconduct. It demonstrates how unchecked bias corrupts institutions and damages society systematically. Ms. Sterling, you're sentenced to 18 months federal prison, 3 years supervised probation, and $75,000 in fines. Victoria collapses into her chair as the maximum sentence reflects the case's high profile and systemic importance for civil rights law. Additionally, you're permanently banned from employment in transportation industries, required to complete 200 hours of community service with civil rights organizations, and prohibited from social media platforms for 2 years to prevent further harm. The judge continues relentlessly. Mr. Thompson, your daughter's courage in documenting this incident has sparked positive change across multiple industries. Several airlines are implementing similar reforms based on Sterling Aviation's comprehensive model. Outside the courthouse, Victoria faces a media scrum with trembling hands. Her mumbled "no comment" provides stark contrast to Thompson's articulate press conference weeks earlier. Her former colleagues avoid eye contact completely. Professional networks have evaporated overnight. Social media profiles require constant monitoring due to ongoing harassment. The discrimination video follows her everywhere. Job interviews, apartment applications, social situations. Meanwhile, Sterling Aviation's stock reaches record highs. The company's decisive response enhanced its reputation rather than damaging it. Industry analysts praise Thompson's crisis leadership worldwide. Victoria's story becomes cautionary tale in business schools, legal seminars, and corporate training programs. Her face appears in sensitivity presentations globally, always as the definitive example of what never to do. The broader changes Victoria inadvertently triggered are reshaping an entire industry. 6 months post-incident, the Victoria Sterling case catalyzes industry-wide transformation. Aviation Week magazine features Robert Thompson on its cover, the CEO who changed everything. Sterling Aviation's comprehensive reforms become the gold standard. Employee bias training expands from voluntary workshops to mandatory quarterly certifications with real consequences. The company hires diversity consultants, implements anonymous complaint systems, and empowers frontline staff to override discriminatory decisions immediately. We measure success by incidents prevented, not just problems resolved, Thompson tells the International Aviation Conference. His presentation draws standing ovations from competitors who initially criticized his overreaction. The Passenger Advocacy Board reviews 847 complaints in 6 months, identifying discriminatory patterns invisible to traditional corporate structures. 12 employees face termination for bias violations. More importantly, 200 others receive additional training before problems escalate into federal cases. Other airlines scramble to implement similar programs defensively. Delta announces comprehensive bias prevention initiatives. American Airlines revamps complaint procedures entirely. United establishes passenger rights advocates at major hubs nationwide. The Federal Aviation Administration proposes new regulations requiring anti-discrimination training for all customer-facing airline employees. Congressional hearings examine transportation bias with Victoria's video as primary evidence of systemic problems. The Sterling case demonstrates that individual prejudice creates institutional problems requiring institutional solutions, testifies Dr. Maria Rodriguez, civil rights attorney. One employee's actions exposed industry-wide deficiencies that demanded comprehensive reform. Amara Thompson, now 17, speaks at high school assemblies about confronting discrimination with courage. Her poise and articulation inspire thousands of teenagers facing similar challenges nationwide. People ask if I was scared, she tells students at Washington High School. Of course I was terrified. But my father taught me that fear is information, not instruction. The fear told me this was serious, but it didn't tell me to surrender my dignity. Students record her presentations, creating viral moments that contrast sharply with Victoria's destruction. Amara becomes a symbol of empowered youth confronting injustice with intelligence rather than emotion. Sterling Aviation's customer satisfaction scores reach industry highs across all demographics. Passengers report feeling safer, more respected, more valued. The company's crisis response attracted customer loyalty that no advertising campaign could purchase. Victoria Sterling's prison term becomes focal point for criminal justice reform advocates. Some argue her sentence was excessive for first-time discrimination. Others insist it was proportionate to the systematic harm caused. Her case study appears in law school curricula nationwide. Students debate corporate liability, individual accountability, and systemic reform strategies. Victoria's name becomes synonymous with the consequences of unchecked institutional bias. Meanwhile, aviation industry demographics slowly shift toward inclusion. The scholarship program inspired by Amara's treatment funds 150 students annually. Applications from underrepresented communities increase 300% across major airlines. Young people entering aviation cite the Sterling case as motivation for career choices. They see an industry actively confronting its problems rather than ignoring them systematically. The incident that began with discrimination evolves into recruitment catalyst for diversity. Flight attendants undergo enhanced training emphasizing dignity, respect, and cultural competence. The profession attracts candidates with social work backgrounds, conflict resolution skills, and genuine commitment to service rather than just authority. Victoria's former colleagues embrace the changes, recognizing how her behavior endangered everyone's careers. They become advocates for reform, understanding that discrimination liability threatens entire companies, not just individual employees. 1 year later, Amara faces her next challenge with newfound confidence. 1 year after the gate incident, Amara Thompson boards another Sterling Aviation flight. This time, she travels with her father to London for a business conference where he'll speak about corporate crisis management and systemic change. The gate agent recognizes her immediately, not from discrimination videos, but from company diversity materials featuring her scholarship program. Ms. Thompson, welcome back. First-class boarding begins in 15 minutes. Thank you. Amara smiles genuinely. The interaction feels natural, respectful, fundamentally human. Flight attendant Marcus Williams, Victoria Sterling's replacement as senior cabin crew, approaches during boarding. Ms. Thompson, I wanted to thank you personally. Your courage changed everything for people like me. Marcus represents Sterling Aviation's new hiring initiative. Employees chosen for empathy, cultural competence, and commitment to dignity. His background includes social work and conflict resolution skills now valued equally with aviation experience. The training program you inspired helped me identify my own unconscious biases, he continues with authentic gratitude. I thought I was immune because I experienced discrimination myself. Turns out everyone has blind spots requiring constant vigilance. Amara appreciates his honesty completely. The incident's aftermath revealed bias exists across all demographics requiring vigilance from everyone, not just awareness from victims. During the flight, Amara reflects on the year's transformative changes. Victoria Sterling served 8 months before early release to a halfway house. Her community service involved speaking at bias prevention workshops, ironic redemption through education. The former flight attendant's presentations proved unexpectedly powerful with audiences. Her authentic remorse and detailed analysis of discriminatory thinking patterns resonated deeply. She became reluctant advocate for the reforms she initially opposed. I destroyed a child's dignity because I couldn't see past my assumptions. Victoria told a corporate training session. I nearly destroyed a company because I valued my prejudices over policies. Don't become me. Her transformation seemed genuine, though trust remained fragile. Some viewed her advocacy as performance, others recognized authentic change. Either way, her message prevented similar incidents nationwide. Robert Thompson's business philosophy evolved through crisis. The incident reinforced his belief that corporate values must be lived, not just proclaimed. Sterling Aviation's culture shifted from compliance-based to principle-driven decision-making. We learned that preventing discrimination requires more than policies, he told Harvard Business Review. It requires courage, from leaders willing to confront problems and employees empowered to challenge authority when necessary. The company's financial performance validated this comprehensive approach. Revenue increased 23% as customer loyalty deepened significantly. Employee satisfaction reached record highs as workers felt proud of their company's authentic values. Amara began her senior year with scholarship offers from top universities nationwide. Her essay about confronting discrimination impressed admissions committees everywhere. But she faced a different choice than most teenagers. I could study anywhere, she told her father during the London flight. But I want to study here, aviation management, civil rights law, corporate leadership. I want to understand how systems actually change. Robert Thompson smiled with paternal pride. His daughter chose to build rather than simply criticize. She would enter the family business not through privilege, but through rigorous preparation. The plane descended toward London as Amara reviewed her college applications. Each essay returned to the same central theme. Individual courage catalyzes systemic change, but lasting transformation requires unwavering institutional commitment. Her experience taught her that discrimination thrives in silence and withers under sustained scrutiny. Speaking up was necessary, but insufficient. The real work involved creating systems where speaking up wasn't required because bias couldn't take root. As they landed, Amara noticed Marcus Williams ensuring every passenger felt genuinely welcomed during disembarkation. His authentic care reflected company-wide cultural transformation. Dignity wasn't performance, it was practice. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you witnessed discrimination in travel? How did you respond? What changes would you implement to prevent bias in customer service? Like this video if you believe in standing up to discrimination wherever you find it. Your engagement helps these stories reach people who need to hear them most. Subscribe to Beat Stories for more powerful tales of justice prevailing over prejudice. Hit that notification bell to join our community of people committed to calling out injustice.
You just witnessed the gap between power and responsibility. At Beat Stories, we close that gap, one story at a time. Subscribe and help hold systems, leaders, and gatekeepers accountable.